A couple items. We've had an interesting day. So we're on the last item before agenda review, and that item is Transportation Improvement Plan. So we have Wendy here to present on that. So obviously we need a lot of time to go through agenda review. Wendy, if you can give us the abbreviated version, and if you need additional time, the board's meeting tomorrow for a gaming authority meeting, so we can use that as an opportunity to carry on this conversation if need be, okay? All right, but at the very least, this will be a start. Maybe it'll be a finish, but at the least it'll be a start.
Wendy Hoffman, Transportation Planner with the Transportation Department. So I'm here today to present the annual Transportation Improvement Plan. It's our strategic four-year plan that's updated annually. And inclusive with that is also an annual report. So what I've done is I've handed out one section of the report. The full PDF document was sent to Lana earlier today, so this is available electronically. I also have 3 printouts. I can make more, but I'm just going to shorten this up because I know we're really limited on time. So within this, there's the tip, there's the PowerPoint, there's also project detail sheets for each project that's listed on the tip. There's an official inventory, a section on the RAISE grant, a section on the Health and Human Services Regional Transit Plan, and a section on the Transit Program Operations Manual. But to stick to the original intent of the meeting or the presentation today would be the tip. So I've provided everyone with a copy of the tip. The front page is projects that were completed during 2024. Those include construction, design, permitting, pre-design projects, planning projects, and administrative projects, special projects that have been completed during 2024. After that initial page, you'll see the 4 pages of the tip. I have those laid out, prioritized 1 through 10 or 20. You'll see the color coding that shows next year, excuse me. You'll see the color coding that's in section 1 on the first page, the 4 projects that will move to construction, and that would be Odenang, the Tribe of Trails, which is 3 locations, 10th Street Bridge, and the Natural Resources Facility. Then you'll see the pre-design phases below that, and that's when we're working on different pre-planning and design tasks. That would include wetlands right-of-way. And then the following page, you will see the yellow highlighted projects. Those are our RAISE projects that are included in the RAISE grant. They have to be included in our tip for us to move forward with those. The agreement was officially signed a few weeks ago for that grant. So the initial next year, these projects will all be in the preliminary phase. That preliminary phase needs to be completed prior to construction. So after next year, we can move forward and you'll see them laid out in the following pages. Construction, design, and then phase 1 and phase 2 for each project. And that's it.
Any project-specific questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to say I have confidence in the way that you prepared the tip. So even though you don't get a longer time, I'm confident that it's ready and to be approved. It's not on tonight, but the way that you do your work makes me confident that it's ready. So
well, thank you. If anyone has any input, any requests, This is the draft. After today, in a couple of days, this will be posted for public notice for 30 days. So prior to that, if you'd like to contact me, if you'd like any changes or anything included.
I got Mike, Bridget, Lana.
Thank you, Wendy, for bringing this to our attention and all that. Was there any discussion on, or is it in here covered? Because it says Sault Ste. Marie Trails, but there was a discussion a while back about putting some trails on the newly acquired property down on Sugar Island.
Yes,
So is that included in here somewhere then?
it's not yet. It's
Okay.
not yet because it's not in the official inventory.
Okay, so once that, okay,
And we have several, please reach out to me. We have several requests of locations, some in Marquette, some are on Sugar Island, that can't be included because they're not on the official inventory. As soon as we get those on the inventory, which I'm hoping we'll have more staffing next year, and that we can focus on that and get the official inventory updated.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, Bridget, Lana.
Hey, Wendy, I've been meaning to talk to you about the Unit 3 housing project that we're going to be doing with the ARPA funds. The property, I don't know if it is listed. We've owned it for several years. It's in trust, the Savard property, but we're looking at developing that. And there's going to be so much money spent on the infrastructure. There's not going to leave us a lot to do any housing. So we were wondering if possibly we could include on the tip those roads and the sidewalks on that project. We can get you that information if we can do that. But since housing's such a critical need in all of our communities, especially our unit, we were wondering if we could get that on there to get that covered. Thank you.
Yes, the whole subdivision is laid out for Savard, so that can be included. I can add that, I can add that for, on this, before it's published. Savard will be added, yep.
Lana?
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. And thanks for, coming down to our communities and doing assessments and community input. You've done that and been pretty consistent about that. So that leads me to the trails in Hessel behind the powwow grounds. That's due to start this year, isn't it? 2025, 2024?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah, we
Yes.
worked on that for about 5 years and so that's due to start when?
it should be going out to bids, and that's the Trails project. It's going to be
Yeah, the trail.
included, yep,
Okay.
yep, that's that project, and it'll be going out to bids, and I'll keep you in the loop for each location. The board members you'll be included.
Okay,
the
and then the other question, and I'm only asking because I don't know and I'm not advocating either way, I just don't know the answer. When we had a community meeting down here, they talked about a caution light in Hessel up by the tribal center, the reservation, the campground. Was there any more talk on that or planning on that?
Yes, that's actually, I apologize, that hasn't been completed. I have to put a bid out for a contractor. I have to get an electrician to install that. But everything's designed, all the permits, everything's approved.
Okay, all right, thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Wendy? All right, Wendy, thank you very much for the abbreviated version. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Oh, that's not it. Huh? That'll work. Thanks. All right, we'll just jump right into agenda review. Chairman had to step out for a few phone calls. We will start with Natural Resources Division. You can just run through all of yours. Sound good? Jack and Robin, you can both come up. We'll go through them one at a time, starting with Coastal Marsh Restoration. Is Brad here too, or just you two?
No, Brad's off.
Sounds good.
So coastal marsh restoration, this resolution creates a FY25 budget to use BIA Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funds to work with Axiom Data Science to create a tribal-led data portal. And this will allow us to more effectively collaborate with partnering agencies on coastal marsh restoration along the St. Mary's River. So, was I supposed to read budgets? information, or is this okay?
No, this is good.
So it's an $85,000 budget.
Any questions for the coastal marsh restoration?
I spelled it wrong. It's supposed to be Marsh.
Marsh. That's why it doesn't make sense, because it's supposed to say marsh. She spelled it March. We're all good. We're all good.
Marching along.
I will
down
fix
the river.
it. Sorry.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it. Okay, no questions on this one. Next one, GLRI Wolf Establishment FY25 budget. That is Robin.
That's right, okay. All right, so this resolution creates a FY25 budget to use, here again, BIA Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funds for year 2 of a 3-year project, working with hemiboreal ecosystems in the eastern upper peninsula of Michigan. Here focusing on wolves and lowland conifer cedar forests. So $350,922.90, and that covers part of 2 assistant biologists within the wildlife program, as well as half of an assessment biologist within the wildlife program.
Any questions on this resolution? Hearing none, we will move on to GLRA Lake Whitefish Rearing. That's Jack and Robin.
Hello. The first resolution is to establish a budget of $8,123. These are carry forward funds, GLRI funds. They were originally granted in 2022, and this is to help support our Lake Whitefish initiative.
Any questions on this one? Discussion? All right, next one we have is GLRI Lake Whitefish Experimental Rearing Establishment. Is that just a repeat?
No, it's an experimental rearing. The first one was just.
Oh, experimental rearing. Okay, sorry.
So these are very similar. These are GLRI funds that we ask for every year. These are carry forward funds from 2021. The total amount for this budget is $14,644, and it helps support our Lake Whitefish initiative.
Any questions on the experimental rearing? I don't see any hands. Next one is Aquatic Invasive Species Establishment FY25.
This budget makes use of a U.S. Fish and Wildlife grant. It would support aquatic invasive species work. We'll be able to hire a fisheries assistant biologist who can help us do this work, mostly around the St. Mary's and some in Northern Huron.
Any questions on this one, invasive species? All right, I don't see any hands. And then the final one that I see here is Administration FY24 budget modification.
So this resolution modifies a FY24 budget to address current spending on Natural Resource Division staff, space costs and supplies, adjusts or addresses an issue, staffing, salaries and wages, as well as there's a pretty decent decrease in supplies and related funds that were enabled through the ARPA, replacing those funds with ARPA compliant supplies.
Any questions related to this budget? I don't see any hands. Thank you all so much. We'll see you tonight. All right, next on the agenda is Dan in the room? There he is. Dan, we have Enterprises State Small Business Credit Initiative Establishment of FY24 budget.
Good evening, or good afternoon, I should say. This is to create a budget to receive the first tranche of the SSBCI funds. That is one of 3 tranches that we will receive. That is to receive that funding and for the interest generated from those funds, and to pay the organization we have managing the fund for us.
Any questions on the SSBCI?
Yep.
Lana?
Yeah, Dan, I just seen that memo that you sent us explaining in detail how this would work, and I just really appreciate you following up on that. That's going to be helpful to me when I explain that to members. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one? All right, Dan, since you're here, let's skip down. You have adopting the EDC 2024 compensation study and recommendations project.
Correct. This resolution is being brought forward to adopt the Soaring Bird Solutions compensation study. I have sent the detail and other material requested by the board after workshop. This is one of 3 compensation studies to be presented tonight. The other 2 will be presented by the casino and governmental.
Any questions? Aaron?
What's the fiscal impact, and should that be included in the resolution? I see in the, I think I
Was
see it.
included in the attachments.
So I think the total should be reflected in the resolution.
In all resolutions? I thought the direction was to send that in the attachment on the spreadsheet. So I don't
The
know.
detail, I think, in the attachment is fine in an attachment, but if we're enacting a modification, it's usually, budgets is on it, aren't they? It's usually, the cover amount is usually included in the resolution, the total, not the,
This wasn't done like a budget mod though, or
No.
a budget establishment. This is just to, and Christine might be able to help more.
This is Jen.
And Jen's on.
Go ahead, Jen.
If you don't mind, this is where, on the enterprises and casinos, I've been asked to leave off amounts on the resolutions for proprietary information.
but that's not,
I'm assuming this is the same thing that Dan's doing. I mean, I'm just putting that in there, out there, sorry.
yeah, the only thing is that's not consistent with, unless the board passed something in the 2 years I was gone, usually the enacted amount total is included, not the attachment. We reference the attachment, and that becomes, approved with the resolution, but usually the total is included in budgets are done that way.
When I bring in a resolution for a budget mod, I just reference the sheet that I'm modifying. I have not put the totals in the resolutions for property acquisitions or many resolutions I brought forward. If that's direction, then I could certainly do that, but I do not believe any of the 3 resolutions tonight were drafted with that annual impact in the resolutions. That was left out. It was discussed in the board meeting, but it is not included in my resolution or any of the other resolutions. Correct.
Are you good, Aaron?
Not really. I guess if something happened in the 2 years I was gone where the board voted to not include that, budgets are done that way. So I think that the total should be reflected in the resolved section of the resolution. I think it's fine to have reference to an attachment with the detail, because then that is proprietary. It gets into proprietary, but the appropriations is not proprietary. It never has been. So I'm not blaming you at all, because if you were told to do it that way, but then I'm asking if there was a resolution that redirected it to be done that way. Otherwise, we just got into a practice.
Not to my knowledge. I think Christine will speak. We got 3 other people behind you on this one.
You're right, Aaron, on that, but in this case, if we, from this morning's conversation we had with the board about the funds that could be used, is kind of complicates this.
Oh.
And so within my resolution, I have it up to be, the board to obligate up to the 10 million within it, and then we'll make the appropriate action from that for both EDC and the casino.
So just so I understand, and I'm looking for it now, the resolution you brought has it up to an amount, a total?
Yeah, it's on the, now therefore be resolved section, the very first paragraph. And it does put in that the board of directors hereby obligates up to the 10 million, the remaining funds authorized by Resolution 2021-167 for the implementation of the Comprehensive Classification and Comp Study Project, number 24-208, which includes the separate studies for EDC and casino. And the reason why it's an estimate is because because we do not have the finalized cost depending on what the board passes. So,
Okay, so the governmental one does include it, but I see in what Budgets just said was she was directed that the EDC and the casino does not include it, but I do think that the total should be reflected consistent, because governmental's doing it, the casino and enterprise should do it. So all it has to do is, before we read the resolution, we should just include the number in the resolved.
The EDC one has it in the first result,
Oh, does it?
up to 10 million,
Oh, it does.
and then I think the casino might.
So that's up to 10 million across enterprise and governmental, but casino doesn't. Is that what we're saying?
I don't have yours.
I'm not trying to be a stickler. I support it. I'm going to vote for it. It's just, I know that our practice in the past is that it's not enacted, the total, unless it's in the resolved section of the resolution. So,
And I misspoke, I guess I misunderstood the question. I didn't have the exact figure that we sent in the projections, but I had the up to that Christine has in the governmental as well.
yeah, okay. Yeah, the amount is in the attached. I see it in the attached.
Yeah. So that was a number I was referencing, but it says up to what was budgeted for the compensation study.
Okay. That was it.
Okay, Bridget, Isaac, Lana. Bridget, you still have a question? Comment?
Well, I was just gonna comment on what Aaron said. I know I had brought it up several meetings ago about including the total number on a resolution. I thought we were gonna go forward doing that because we always did. I have concerns with this comp study. And I don't know if they should be brought out in a workshop or, in public or not. So I guess I'll hold on for now.
Okay, would you like to get through all of these resolutions first and see if we have time to go closed, or do you want to go closed now?
I'd say let other people go for now.
Okay. Isaac, Lana.
Hey, I'm in agreement with Aaron. I think the totals should be on the resolution for the simple fact, what if the supporting documentations get separated from the resolutions? How would we ever know what the amount was? And I'm not talking today, tomorrow. I know we got great administrative staff that take care of that, but down the road, what if it gets separated, then the totals aren't there? We're passing law by resolution, and it should be highlighted the cost that it's going to cost.
Thank you, Lana.
Yep, I'm just going to echo what Aaron has said. We had tried to get that, those numbers back in there. I don't know who gave the directive, but there was enough, well, Isaac, me, Bridget, Aaron, there's, voiced already that we'd like to have those totals in there. So hopefully they're in there and it just doesn't fall off again or people quit doing it or whatever. I don't know who's given directives. But so, yeah, I agree with Aaron on this one. Thanks.
Anybody else? Any other questions on this particular resolution? Okay, Dan, I don't see you on for anything else.
Nope, that's it.
We'll see you tonight.
Thank you.
Next up, Transportation Department expanding regional EVSE access with Tribal Nations Project. Wendy?
Hello, Wendy Hoffman, Transportation Planner. This resolution will build upon our initial partnership with Midwest Tribes for a grant that they've submitted and received. So what we're going to do now is partner with Native Son, and they will come in. They're going to work with our executives, our leadership, staff, and do a plan for EV vehicles and for EV stations, and that'll be across the service area. So we'll they're going to help us identify through utilities and right-of-way prime locations where needs are going to be met. And this is all free. And in the end, we'll be able to put 2 EV charging stations on our sites.
Any questions for Wendy on this? All right, thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Sioux Tribe Comprehensive Classification and Compensation Study Project. Christine?
So what you have before you is a very extensive resolution that spells out many things in order to pass a classification and compensation study. It affects many other resolutions that are existing, and to spell out what the changes are. And I normally we do this during a workshop, but I apologize, it's during agenda review. But it makes sure that we are clarifying what salary wage ranges are going to be covered and which are not. It talks about the Fair Labor Standards Act and how we're going to be in compliant with that. It also talks about the COLA adjustment that will need to be amended from a previous resolution. Deals with the team member longevity recognition plan, and that it says up to the 10 million has been authorized by a previous resolution. There's not a number in here specifically for this because, as you're aware, during the workshop, there was 6 options under the governmental of choices, and I was asked to give a recommendation of which options we were going to go with. So that's all that's attached. That number that was attached is dependent on, it would be just a guesstimate, a date and time, because as time goes on, people leave, and I have not done the actuals on those until we know which option's being passed. So I have that number included here, but it could change. So that's why we didn't include it. No one's directed me not to include it. I don't know where that directive or who's saying that, because I've not been directed for that, not to say not to put it in, but that's just not going to be an actual amount if we put it in and then you hold myself to that number. But it was really about today to find out from the board which option you wanted to go with. Because like I said, there was 3 of them. There was actually 4 presented last week. And I was asked which one I recommend. And basically, this comp study is to make sure that we bring all of our employees to the min of their position. And then anybody above the min of the position is a gradual percentage based upon where they fall in their comp ratio. So that could be added to that. But that real number is, I'm not going to be able to give it until I go through all of these and review it with my directors. I hope I didn't make that too complicated. Sorry.
Any questions for Christine? Aaron?
So the number that you used is the maximum exposure, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be less than that.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's it.
Any further questions for Christine on this one? Okay, it looks like you have a couple others. Christine, you have a benefit package for key employees, executives?
Yes, I do. So this resolution is been brought before you and reviewed at a workshop. And what it is really to, we have found that we are, from an old policy, that we're asking people to come work for us and not be able to take vacation or sick time, vacation time, for 6 months of employment, and really feel that that's not a good way for recruitment and retention. So the intention of this is to have the flexibility to not add more to the actual vacation or sick time that still remain at the same as every other team member, but that these team members would be awarded 10 days vacation upon hire and 5 days, sick days on the day that they start.
Any questions related to this one? Comments? I don't see any questions or comments. Thank you, Christine.
I think that's.
That was it for you, correct? Okay. Next up, we have adopting the 2024 COIDN compensation study and recommendations. Al, sorry, hold on one second. Bridget just put her hand up. Bridget?
Sorry, I was late to get my hand up, but she said 10 vacation days and 5 sick days. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is that for EDC casino and governmental, or is that just governmental?
That was just for governmental. Wait, did I write it? I don't remember.
No, that was for
because
key
right now-
employees.
Huh?
It was for key employees, I thought.
Yeah, key employees are for everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had attorneys and executives.
Because key employees, governmental, get 12 sick days. So you said 10 vacation and 5 sick. So I guess I don't understand that. When normal is 12 for government, casinos 4 days unless the executives get more than that. In EDC, some of those, well, I think Dan might be governmental, but so what's with the 5 instead of 12?
Okay, so they accrue the full amount for their benefit. So if they get 20 days or 15 at the beginning, they still accrue at the same rate. All this does is give them upfront those days. So they don't get any more than, but instead of, if they get 12 days or 15 days, as you said, they're getting their 10 days upfront.
I'm still confused because
I guess if you quote, give me what you quoted and then I can maybe put it in.
okay, so you're saying they're going to be eligible when they start working for 10 vacation days and 5 sick days.
Correct.
So normally a governmental employee would get 12 sick days. So are you only giving them 5 in the beginning because they're eligible for 12?
Yeah, we're not giving them the full year's accrual. We're just giving them an allowance of those 5 days, but the max they still get is only 12.
In vacation time, they're getting 10 days. What is their full vacation package?
15 days.
Okay, thank you.
Aaron?
So I guess just to make it clear, they're not being treated differently with respect to their accrual, like they're treated like every other team member, but we're advancing it upfront as a recruitment, basically, and to allow them to be able to utilize the day they start. That will help as they're, potentially traveling back and forth as they're arranging to make the move. Otherwise, they don't qualify until they make their introductory period. Is that it?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
And that's 6 months.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, Tyler, I had my hand up again.
Okay, go ahead, Bridget.
Okay, so I know things probably have changed, but now it used to be before, I think you had to wait a year to take your vacation time on the casino side. So you just said 6 months on the government because I know a salaried employee has 6 months of probation. Now, do they, lost my train of thought here.
These are key employees, Bridget, is not all, this is not to cover all employees. So
No, I
this.
get that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, do frontline casino employees have to wait 1 year before they take vacation time?
No.
Al's here. Al?
How long?
The answer is no.
How long until somebody takes vacation time at the casino?
It's accrual.
but they accrue it after 90 days. It's accrued.
Yeah.
So it's accrued and it could be up to a year before they take it.
So after 90 days, they can take it, but it could take up to a year to accrue enough for them to take a full vacation. Thank you.
Gotcha.
The 1 year, Bridget, the 1 year that you're referencing was, I don't know if it's still in place, but it was to qualify for signing up for health insurance. The introductory period, you can't use your vacation or sick until you make your introductory period, and that will
Yeah,
vary
the
depending.
vacation used to be a year.
That was for the health insurance. That was not for qualifying for vacation or sick, to use your vacation or sick. Yeah.
It's changed. I used to work in HR and teach orientation. Thank you.
Okay, I helped write the policies.
Okay. Okay. All right. We're all done, Christine. Thank you so much. We'll see you tonight. Al, you're coming up next anyway. So you can confirm your HR policies, and then we'll move on to your budget as well.
So Bridget's right, it used to be a year.
When did that change?
I don't know if it, to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you it changed today, but I know it's a year before they use their time. They accrue at time, but then after a year, they can use their time.
You're gonna need to fix that.
Well, there's differences between the organizations, so yes, we do.
Let's talk about what you got on the agenda here, adopting the 2024 Kuwaitan Compensation Study and Recommendations. Go ahead, Al.
Yep, so basically, this looks like, a little bit like everybody else's. There is a caveat to this, and it's the part where it allows for the CEO to execute any documents that may be necessary and appropriate to carry out the terms, conditions, intent, and administration of this resolution, including but not limited to the ability and authority to implement any budgetary changes administratively without the need for formal Board of Directors budget modifications. The reason this is stated is because we just received some documentation recently for comparable positions, and there's a difference that we're working through as we speak between the budgets. And we just wanted a little latitude to be able to accommodate that. But our original number was 2.75, correct, Mike? On our option 2, we think it's going to be above that with the comparables. Any other questions, or?
Any questions on what he just presented? Mike?
Yeah.
I guess when you say you got additional comparables coming in, then in addition to the compensation study, we have more,
Well, we're comparing like positions from the other entities. We're getting information from the other entities on the same positions, like positions, and there's differences.
so that wasn't included in this original comp study from this organization. We're adding on to that compensation study by getting different comparables.
Mike, we were instructed through the RFP originally to compare the studies to housing and health. And then when it was split into 2 parts for the study between the government versus Soaring Bird for the EDC and for the Keewatin study, we were instructed by the board to make sure that those comparables were looked at and that the studies were looked at to make sure that they were similar and conducted and calculated similarly. We have never received a copy of those 3 reports. So therefore, we are only operating on the positions that we have been given from that side, and those are just limited positions that we've been told. We have nothing else to compare it to. So as we receive these, and we've gotten them over the last week, 1 page at a time, and it does not include everything. And so therefore, we're trying to build this, but we continue not to have the complete studies, and so therefore, we can't make that comparison with and make a final judgment. And then on top of that, we had Friday where all of a sudden now we have to come up with the total cost so that we can be funded differently, because all of a sudden now we can't get paid for the way it was before. So we're working our best to try and put the numbers together, but we're not being given anything to work with.
Okay, but under that situation, then you're still asking us to move forward on this without a complete project done then, correct?
The project as it was originally done, just on our own study without comparisons to the other departments and such is 2.75 million is what it would come in at. As we stated when we presented, that would go up or down a little bit depending on how those comparables and the studies are compared so that we can make sure that everything was done the same. If, in fact, it came in, as we're seeing on some of the few positions that we've looked at where they're coming in higher, that number would go up. If we were to adjust to look for those comparable positions that are increased, it's possible that that number could go higher. But I can't give you an exact number because we don't know. But we were asked to present a resolution for this meeting, and that's why we did what we did.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Christine, then we got Lana.
Sure. The casino keeps reference that they must do comparables. The resolution did not say that at all. The resolution refers to governmental comparables because the tribe did a health comp study and a housing comp studies. Those are both governmental studies. So the resolution specifically asks for whoever was doing the governmental to go back and look at housing and health to make sure that they're comparable, because they're all in one company. They're comparable. Casino is not comparable. That's why the casino wanted to have their own company to do their comp study, because they're different industries, they're different comparables, there's a different database along with EDC. EDC is the only one that EDC employees are governmental, so those ones would be within the governmental study. Enterprises are not. Again, they're a separate industry. They use different data points. They do comparables. To keep saying that they need to look at our comparables from governmental is just incorrect. I did give them the comparables that Bluestone did for all of governmental. I gave it to them several times. But they want additional now job titles and positions that were not the comparables, in addition to the comparables that the Bluestone did for the governmental programs. There's 17 of those that I sent it to them in a spreadsheet. I sent them to them in the actual sheet from Bluestone. So they have those. They've had them last week. I don't know how that, you can say that that's a comparable to their positions. Their study was contracted and done, so it would be comparable for their industry. It was not done to compare it to governmental. I have said this, I've talked to the board. In fact, I thought, well, maybe if I'm wrong with this, I've asked the board administrator to go back and review the tape, look at the presentation, and it's consistent with what I said. The only comparables were done within the governmental company between government, housing, and health, because those are governmental programs.
Okay, so I have a board list, and we have Lana, Bridget, and then Mike Jackson wants to speak as well, so you can speak after them. That's all right with you? Okay. All right, go ahead, Lana.
Yeah, Christine, I recall you saying that same thing last week. But that was, so with you saying that and Mike saying that we're going to need a little bit more than the 2.7 or maybe a little bit less, I think Al said a little bit more, is the project complete? Are the numbers correct? Because we heard this morning that we have another comp study that wasn't all correct. So is this ready to be voted on? Do we have the accurate numbers? So when we say we're going to spend 2.75 million, that's what we're going to spend and it's going to be right? That's a question.
That's the casino numbers, and they're saying it's not right, so I can't answer for them.
Right, right. So I'm asking that question. Not you, Christine.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. Can you guys answer that?
Yeah. It's not right because originally this discussion was brought up in a board workshop where we discussed making sure there was comparables with like positions. So that's all we were looking for is like positions. And when you look at what we did get, she's right. Last week we did get a list of team members or positions that were like, there's a variance. those positions are higher than our study. So yes, there will be some corrections made based on that information in itself.
Well, yeah, okay, my question was though, respectfully, is this project complete and ready to go? Mike, you had said that you were asked to put a resolution on to do it. Is it ready to roll? Are you confident in that?
I am not confident in the final number, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bridget? Go ahead, Bridget.
Sorry, when I'm clicking, it keeps moving. So I guess obviously I wasn't there when you guys went over this stuff. I did read my emails. I couldn't watch the workshop because when I did it, it already expired. But one of the things that I didn't quite understand when it came to Bluestone's review was I didn't see anything really about the Sittingness area or any of the other areas that we cover, but they were comparing like Gatesville and small communities that I don't even know that we have operations in those areas. So, how did they come up with the areas when they looked at the market?
Could you answer that, Christine?
No, I wasn't involved, and we hired them to do that. They did their comparables in their markets and did the presentation to the board. So I can't answer that, Bridget.
Well, it's kind of difficult for me because I've always brought forward that our area is a different area with the competition that we have here. And I guess nobody even looked at this area in particular. So it's kind of hard to make a decision on it when nobody even included the area. So it's part of my concern. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, do you want to speak on that? You had your hand up a minute ago.
Yes. It's been mentioned several times that the RFP did not speak to any of this comparison. Underneath final deliverables where the bid analysis on the RFP, and I'll just read it out and you can interpret it how you wish. It says, prepare a written final report of recommendations, including a discussion of methods, techniques, and data used to develop the classification and compensation plan required within RFP for all 3 divisions. Now, that was stated because originally it was supposed to be one company. When it was split up, we were told by the board to make sure that we continued to follow that. That's all I'm asking for.
So the 3 divisions are governmental, health, and housing.
No,
They were not, I wrote that.
Christine, don't interrupt me. He has the floor.
It says specifically here, and I am reading, 3 subdivisions, governmental, enterprise, and gaming. I'm not adding anything about health. Down below, prior to that, it does say health and housing compensation studies, review specifications, review current health and housing compensation studies to ensure completeness according to this RFP specifications. So no, the 3 divisions are government, EDC, and Keewatin. And that's according to the RFP analysis that was done by the government, not by us.
Okay, Christine, go ahead.
Yes, and so that's the 3 separate studies, not the comparables. And so that's the difference.
Okay, Aaron?
So, all right, so the devil's in the details. What did the resolution say versus what does the RFP say, and then the interpretation of the RFP? The board is the one that enacted it. So when the board enacted it, did the board intend for us to be striking a balance between casino compensation and tribal governmental compensation? So that's a question for the board. And I would say, I don't think that it would be comparables between the casino and the governmental because they have different benefit packages. You know, they're really like working for different companies. So now on the other hand, because that's the way people make their judgment, whether they want to transfer and apply, not transfer, but apply on the governmental side, governmental has, or either way, back or forth, if they have the budgeted amounts in their budgets, the manager has the discretion to accept whatever accrual or whatever, but they are different entities. So it would really boil down to what did the resolution say, so.
Okay, anyone else?
Sounds like when Lana asked the question, is it ready to be approved? It sounds like it's not, because you're not confident in the total and that it's prepared to be approved today. So, but you've been asked to put it on today by budgets or who?
The resolution itself allowed for us to change it based upon, our feelings were based upon the comparables, that we'd have the latitude, myself would have the latitude to adjust those numbers based on the comparables.
For industry,
Right.
industry, not.
So it had it in the resolution as a caveat to allow for the resolution to go through, but there may be changes to it based on the comparables.
Oh,
Yeah,
He's talking about the existing resolution on for tonight.
Yes.
Not the original resolution.
So to accommodate what we're talking about, we put that verbiage in there to allow for that. When the comparables are done, we make adjustments based on the comparables.
so if we approve it, it's just approve it, there might be tweaks or changes
Yes.
after the fact to match it to comparables to your industry, not governmental.
No, the government, we were.
Because I support that, I think that makes sense.
But I think, when you look at the presentations by both parties, there was mention of comparables and what the wages should look like.
See, there's a double-edged sword here, because you could be lowballing your opportunity if you want to be comparable to governmental, when the industry standard might be different. So which, are we just picking the better of the two?
No, what we have so far, based on the information that's been provided, is we're under substantially. And the presentations weren't portrayed that way. Bluestone said themselves, and I mean, they said it to all of us, and generally, the operations is paid more than the governmental.
You done, Aaron? Okay, Lana.
Well, Aaron asked a question and it wasn't answered. Did budget say to put who said to put this on the agenda when clearly Mike's saying he's not confident that it's ready to be voted on? And I would like to see, I don't want to give latitude. I want to be able to say we did this and that's the number, and what it's going to cost us and that it's right and just. So who put it on the agenda?
I think we all put it on the agenda, but we put it on the agenda with the caveat that we could adjust it based on the comparables that are provided to us.
Okay, so what do you think that's going to be? How much?
I mean, we know we got a $10 million number to work within. I will say that. We know that.
So
I think all the entities realize that.
0.75, but you got 10 million.
Right, but I'm saying that's 10 million split up between 3 entities.
Lana, in addition to that, what I would add is that, yeah, we did take a look at if we were to adjust up to the mid to get an idea of what type of range we have. I am saying that if we were to adjust so that we were on the same level, I'm anticipating that the annual cost would go up no more than $1 million probably. So at the maximum, I'm thinking it's 3.7, but you got to remember, this is taking it back to October 1st. So in addition to the 1 year for 2025 of 2.7, we're talking about the 3 months for this year yet included in that number. So if we just took the 2.75 million and did it up for 15 months instead of 12, it's going to be around 3.3. But I feel confident that we would probably, once we get those numbers and we can do the comparables, that it's going to be between 500 and 100,000 at max, but I don't even anticipate that much. So if you want a maximum number, I can give you a maximum number of like 4.5 and say that we're good.
An accurate number. No, I want an accurate number, not a maximum, an accurate.
Exactly, and that's what I'd like to give you, Lana. That's what I would like to give you.
Lana.
Lana, I'm
And
sorry.
then- Yeah, that's all right, that's all right. Hey, and then the other question, yeah, I want an accurate number on what we're voting on for compensation. And you say that once you get these comparables, where are you getting them and who's got them? Because we've already heard it's not coming from where you think it's coming from.
Well, we're getting comparables. We started getting them last week, but we haven't gotten everything that we needed.
Who are you waiting for them from?
From governmental.
No, no, Christine has said last week and this week that, I mean, she just said that stuff, so there's something wrong.
Well, our
She doesn't have any
understanding
more to
was,
give you, does she?
well, the understanding was is that we did comparables between the entities. We provided our full report to them. We provided everything to them for a comparable. We received piecemeal information back.
Can we go in closed session, please?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, let's go and close, guys. So we'll have just the board and staff, please. from the agenda for tonight's meeting. They just need a little bit more work, so we're going to skip past those resolutions in agenda review. So the next up would be benefit package for key employees, executives, and attorney positions.
We did that one.
Has that one been done? Okay.
Yep, it's the next one.
Wonderful. All right, so the next one up would be approving interagency agreement with Sioux Tribe Housing Authority for utility ARPA funding. Joni?
So good afternoon. What this does is this resolution will execute or authorize the execution of an interagency agreement between the Housing Authority and the tribe to do the CapEx improvements that we need to have in Wetmore, Hessel, and Manistee.
Thank you, Joni. Any questions? Okay, let's move on to your next resolution then, Joni, which is U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, FY 2024 Continuum of Care Builds Grants application.
What this is, as you mentioned, the Continuum of Care Builds Grant. It's up to $9.5 million. It is a piece in the financial puzzle that we're putting together for permanent supportive housing. And this would come with vouchers from MISHDA. So this is a piece of our financial puzzle.
Okay, thank you, Joni. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, we'll move on to your next resolution, Joni, which is amending bylaws of the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians Housing Authority Commission.
So what this does is this was in relation to the Tribal Board Resolution 2022-225. And what this does is it amends Section 1. Commissioners are appointed by the Tribal Board of Directors for a 4-year term. Commissioners represent each of the geographic areas or units of the tribe service area, including the at-large tribal population. Preference will be given to members from the vacant unit. However, if the vacancy lasts for a period of 6 months or more, the commission will open the vacancy to members residing in any unit and the at-large geographic area.
Thank you, Joni. Any questions here, guys? Okay, thank you, Joni. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next up would be waiver of sovereign immunity and consent to waiver of tribal court jurisdiction, AMRENT, and that can be covered by Helen and/or Josh.
Good evening. This resolution is seeking a waiver of sovereign immunity to enter into a contract for AMRENT for Tim Wadding in Sawyer Village. AMRENT is an online rental manager they use for online rent payments, tracking softwares for people to apply for rentals, recording phone calls, and just makes it easier for them to manage their rentals. And to enter in this contract, AMRENT is seeking a waiver for the tribe to agree to jurisdiction in Ohio for any disputes that arise under the contract.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Questions, comments here? Okay, thank you. So we're not going to be sorry, Lana, go ahead.
Yeah. Is Dan in the room? Dan Doyle?
Yes, he is.
Does that mean we can get our house online at, down here at Hillcrest?
What do you mean online? Do you mean rented?
Yeah.
It is rented.
Oh, it is rented?
Yes, correct. Yeah, there's people living in there right now. There's a lease in place.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. I appreciate that, Josh. So we're not going to be covering nepotism, conflict of interest, or establishing constitutional convention committee today. Those are pulled along with the compensation study resolutions at the request of the sponsors. So we just need a little bit more time on those. So now we move into new business committee appointments, and we only have a couple minutes left to cover these, so I'm just going to be informing everyone what we're voting on. So for the Unit 2 Elder Committee in Nobbinaway, there's a request to appoint Patsy Johnson to be a regular member of that Unit 2 Elder Committee. And then in Unit 4, Escanaba Elder Advisory Committee, there's a request to accept Tess Brazau's resignation. That moves us to the Special Needs / Enrollment Committee. There's a request to appoint Jessica Dunback to that. And then for the Food Sovereignty Committee, there's a request to fill a seat with David Lockhart. Then lastly, we have the Election Commission. There's been a vacancy that's been posted, I think, for about a month, and we had an applicant, Letitia Willette, so that'll be voted on as well tonight. So that's the agenda, and in a few minutes, we'll get started, so I appreciate it, everybody.
The recording has stopped.